Alright, new Matpat video dropped. This is a quick little reaction I just want to throw in to get an extra thing out for the day. I just uploaded When Is Sister Location, which is my new video. It's over here. Currently only at 117 views, which is neat. And getting some comments, but not that many, but who cares? It usually blows up towards the middle of the day, and it's still pretty early, so that's the whole side point. Watch that video if you want to see my lore video that somehow ended up being on the exact same day as Matpat's video. I swear I have an inside man. That's totally not just dumb luck. Or unluck, I don't know. Oh, what? Hold on. This is 1060? Oh yeah, Ned Bear just has a kind of blurry sprite, I guess. Okay, so, firstly, you sure?
I've done it. I've solved FNAF.
You sure? You sure you did?
And the clue that brings it all together is this.
Don't you hate getting killed by obscure secondary characters?
Fredbear jump scare, not his sound, actually.
Welcome to Game Theory, where today I'm just gonna get straight to the point. This episode was supposed to be our final timeline, but you know what? It's not quite there yet. I think we're gonna have it ready for next week. There's just a few wrinkles that we need to iron out about Elizabeth's death specifically, but otherwise...
Hold on. Let's see. Do I have like a good shot of the complete timeline? I swear I do, right? Wow, I what the hell is autoplaying? Oh, that's just the end rolled ad. Okay, hold on. Let me grab something real quick. Because I did make this image and I want to show it. Just so it's on record what the hell I'm talking about. Okay, firstly... there we go. This is my complete timeline right now. So you have the minigames of FNAF 4, then you have Security Puppet, which is caused by William trying to even the score with Henry to make it so Henry's as miserable as him after he lost his son. And then you have Midnight Motorist immediately after Security Puppet. I only put them there because their sprites are sized this way, and they would be too small to visualize on a screen if you were on lower resolution, so that's why it had to be the size. Then we have the original MCI location, which we don't know much about, but we know it existed. We know there's the FNAF 2 location, which is after that. Then I say that Circus Babies is formed to fill in the gaps after FNAF 2 closes and just stays around long enough to survive until after FNAF 1 closes, which leads to the events of the night. So Elizabeth dies here, but then the actual nights happen over here, is what I'm saying. And then Survival Logbook happens, or maybe it's in FNAF 1 or FNAF 3. It honestly doesn't change anything where it is specifically. I want to say, since Golden Freddy still attacks you in FNAF 1, but never attacks Michael again for several games, even in Mike Hell logic, that, and he is working with or communicating with the spirits of Golden Freddy in this book, at least one of them is, that might give a character arc kind of note, but I've avoided making like a timeline. Oh, that's just a Williams, right? A timeline note because I want to iron out certain rationales I have for things, and I want to focus more on character analysis and that kind of stuff. But sorry, I'm kind of going down my own rabbit hole. But this is a fellow theorist analysis because I agree that Elizabeth's timeline actually does affect things. But anyway.
I feel really good about everything we've pieced together so far. That said, I wanted to put this episode up first regardless because it dives into into a section of the timeline that's likely going to be controversial, which is also a bad thing because it's the beginning of the timeline. Nothing like starting off on the wrong foot, you know? So in order to head that one off at the pass, let's just start talking about it now, shall we? Last episode I brought up how the team and I have been tackling this whole timeline project. Basically that we've broken down everything into 3 key sections: the foundation of Freddy's, the Afton era, and post-Purple Guy. In that episode we dug hard into the last chunk, trying to figure out the recent history with things like FNAF VR and security breach.
I gotta say, something I've been working on is a parody video of the Matpat formula. But God, there's so many. I want to just point out the editing team has such good subtlety with their animations. Like that book is just subtly floating. That is not an easy effect to pull off if you don't know what you're doing. Could I replicate this effect if I really sat down and do it? Yes. But you can see everything's floating. Everything has weight to it. All of the animation is paced. There's a blur effect there. That is hard to do on this scale this well. And twice as long as the videos I make, for example. I cut them down to make them easier to edit and also to keep the pacing quick. But anyway, I just wanted to point that out because that's really, like, it's hard to praise that animation enough. A lot of people don't credit that.
At this point, we all have a general basic knowledge of the games, right? Kids die, animatronics get possessed, all that good stuff. But here, that foundational stuff right at the beginning, that's the murkiest because honestly, there's not a lot that's immediately clear that we can go off of. Sure,
I agree, yeah.
lines from Phone Guy, maybe a sentence or two from the novels, but otherwise,
I don't.
it seems to be about it. How did William Afton and Henry Emily start working together?
Does that matter?
Why did Afton start killing in the first place? Was Fredbear's Family Diner truly the first location? These are questions that seem important for us to answer. And
Why he Urple? I don't know if that was an intentional typo, but that's way funnier than any intentional sentence. Like,
honestly, if you're looking at where the timeline of Five Nights at Freddy's really begins, it's with those sorts of questions.
Okay. So I want to give my answers before he does for comparison's sake. Why did William start killing? Because Michael kills his younger kid, and he just wants to kill Charlotte to even the scores with Henry, so he's just as miserable as William. And then after he sees Charlotte come to life, he becomes obsessed with trying to recreate that. He's like, wait, hold on. Things can walk again after they're dead? My kid can do that. Let me make that happen. Let me figure out how I did it. And that's my motivation there, is that every kill after that is just him trying to recreate Charlotte's resurrection. Was Fredbear's the first? That is actually a good question. We know the first Freddy's location is somewhere in 1983, or at least Fazbear Entertainment's been around since 1983 because of their coins. Why here Urple? I think that's just a sprite design. Scott is very loose and broad with the sprites. How did William and Henry start working together? Well, they said old friend and unknowingly helped create, so I have a feeling they were buddies. Just, that's it. I'm sure he's going to pull something from the novels that says otherwise, but still.
Only problem is that the answers just might not exist anywhere in the canon yet. Or so I initially thought.
That's where we're going with this.
I suspect there may be a way to answer some, if not all of those questions using a mix of evidence from the games, the books, and real-life lore.
Okay, let me predict where this entire theory is going based on the opening seconds. He's going to say that Henry was a struggling animatronic creator with the mediocre melodies, and then William picks him up and gives him his ideas and makes it a success. Is that where he's going with this? Or the reverse, that William made... Point is, I think he's going to say that one of them made the mediocre melodies, it didn't go well, and the other was trying to work on other stuff, and then they combined to be actually successful.
Help us get a better understanding of William Afton's motives, while also outlining a rough sequence of events that'll ultimately help place locations and other things when I tackle the full timeline.
I like how he picks such broad events so you can lay them out with anyone moaning at you like, hey! Like, if he put Security Puppet here or here, people would freak out no matter what. Because this is a FNAF 4 sprite and blah, blah, blah. But no one could argue that this Fredbear is not before this, and that this is not before this, and this is not before this. No one could argue anywise other than this event.
One thing, a set of obscure secondary characters named the mediocre melodies.
Exactly.
Ned Bear, Pig Patch, Happy
I'm not opposed to William or Henry starting with one of those, and then the other picks them up to make them actually successful.
Drive yourself crazy.
Yeah, I know, Mr. Hippo, I get it. That is
What? Hold on. Did they...
You'll just drive yourself crazy.
Yeah,
Did they match the anti-aliasing for Hippo's eyes here? That's funky.
yeah, I know, Mr. Hippo, I get it. That has been
Because he's not... Because Mr. Hippo is a sprite, which they don't have the full detailed image of like Matpat. Because they want the highest quality image of Matpat they can get for reusing it constantly. So did they match the anti-aliasing? Because his eyes are way sharper.
We actually didn't read into you enough. You see, when the mediocres were first introduced in Pizzeria Simulator, we, as the community, largely dismissed them. And why wouldn't we? This is a game where you're pulling animatronics out of a dumpster. Trash and the gang are literally made of garbage. Why would we think that some random barnyard-themed characters would be worth our attention when there was already so much established lore inside of the thing? We beat the game, we solved the lore, we moved on. Then ultimately,
Except Midnight Motorist.
Custom Night released, and there they were again. It was strange to see them fill so many slots, but I don't know, there was also Trash in the gang, and Music Man! Other
All-star
random
character.
from the character deep cuts, so maybe it was just Scott
Eh,
fill out the
I think JJ was just there to balance out BB to have like one that does power, one that does other stuff. Like doors. Or a flashlight and doors, that's what they did.
Mostly treated as a joke. If you died to them, every once in a while they'd give voice to the most important character and mystery from the game. The one you shouldn't have killed.
I wonder where they got this body from. I have a joke planned for my parody script that uses a sprite I pulled out of nowhere. And I'm just going to treat it like fact, and I wonder if anyone will notice it.
Only just begun. I will never let you leave. I will never let you rest.
It was a huge revelation, and the lines that they spoke ultimately helped us to determine that Custom Night was William Afton's endless...
Yeah, there are lines there that a lot of people kind of take for granted, like, no matter how many times they burn us. There's a great line because it implies that the person you're playing as was intentionally burned by other people multiple times, which does not fit Michael being in hell, because who the hell burned him multiple times? Henry burns all of them together, so that makes sense, but who burned him before? That doesn't line up, but it does line up with William being burned by Michael.
Spirits inside the Golden Freddy suit. But again, none of us ever stopped to consider why them? Why these characters? Why were they the ones that Cassidy was choosing to speak through? Why are they here? Well, after doing a lot of research for the grand overall timeline...
He's going to say this is the first place and this is where Cassidy's killed.
Oh, I think I know. The mediocre melodies were Henry's creation from a time before he and William...
I called it! Yeah!
started working together. When the two men merged their ideas together to form one company, the mediocres became temporary characters at Fredbear's Family Diner before eventually being retired and largely forgotten.
Oh boy. I'm too broke to afford premium, so we're gonna have to skip that.
Yeah, that is a lot of big swings that I'm making with some...
Yeah, I'm gonna need some damn good proof for this,
So,
though.
let's just rewind and take it one step at a time, shall we? First, how do we know that the mediocre melodies belong to Henry? Well, let's just look at their design. It's very simple. They're similar to the Endo 01 designs from the FNAF 1 animatronics, but even more rudimentary, with less flexible joints and less complex wiring. But the important point here is that for each one, the upper jaw and the lower jaw are entirely separate, operating using a very basic hinge towards the back of the head, or two metal bars that slide up and down along the side. And you see, that right there is what tells us they belong to Henry. Well, there are plenty of animatronics that fall into a nebulous
Okay.
zone who designed them. There are a few pieces of tech that we can definitely trace back to their original creator. The Funtime animatronics, for instance, definitely came from Afton. Not only were they designed with the intent of luring and capturing children, something that just doesn't jive with Henry, but the blueprints outright have Afton Robotics written in the
Well,
bottom.
yeah.
Not much you can do to deny that one. Sound illusion discs? Another Afton creation, considering the backs of them are stamped with his company name as we see in the graphic novel. But the one I'm most interested in today is Lefty, the animatronic designed by Henry used to capture his daughter the puppet during FNAF 6.
Okay, so yeah, we're going to use the rock stars and more importantly Lefty to... Okay, here's my one issue with that. Scott really likes designing batches of animatronics with certain philosophies, and you're picking them from two batches of characters from the same game, which I don't disagree with, but I will say that's a risky move logic-wise.
This was did you happen to notice the two straight metal rods in the schematics with the jaw fully detached?
I mean, yeah, I do agree with this, by the way. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying that it's a risky move to play.
Exact match for the design of Happy Frog. It's a
Not... That's not the call I was going to go for, because there's one other character this totally lines up with two. Oh, here, let me... There is... Actually, let me find... Where is he? There he is. This lad also follows the same design philosophy. Classic Fredbear flows it, and I'm guaranteeing he's going to bring that up, but I just want to point that out before he says it. Is there any other... Is he... I think he's also going to say that the nightmares aren't Henry's because they don't follow that philosophy. In fact, we don't even understand how their, like, jaws work. They are... Yeah. I have, like, an ever-expanding roster and folder for these designs and characters. This is something subtle that I guarantee is just going to go by people, but I featured it as prominent as I could. I custom remade 8-Bit Baby's sprite to have green eyes. For the sole reason of representing Elizabeth possessing her for a transition. There's also I remade the damn... Do I, like, isolate it anywhere here? No. It's just part of the complete timeline. Or it's also in the incomplete one, but I had to custom make this logo based on Michael's drawing of it. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting too sidetracked too quickly. Let me focus on the video.
Signature. But why does that matter? Well, the designs of the mediocres also perfectly match up to the first generation of Freddy, Foxy, Bonnie, and Chica. We know that the Withers were the
Yeah, sure.
Of our core 4 animatronics. These were the ones that had children stuffed inside of them and got possessed. They outright tell us this fact in Ultimate Custom Night.
Yeah.
But have you ever stopped to look at how the Wizards were constructed? They use the exact same techniques as...
Yeah, I agree the Wizards have, and they are the same FNAF 1 animatronic site.
Whole separation between the tops of their head and their jaws. Withered Freddy and Foxy both have the hinge opening in the back like we see with Pigpatch, and Withered Chica follows the Happy Frog and Lefty model with bars in the jaw to aid in opening and closing the mouth. Think this is just coincidence? Look at Chica in other games. Chica in FNAF 1, a fundamental...
Okay, he is going to bring that up, because I was really, like, no. So we can actually tell these are post-William influence, or, like, this is heavy William influence then, because that's how he does the Social Location crew.
Funtime Chica, definitely not.
There, he just brought it up.
The only other time we see this sort of fully separated head design for animatronics is with the FNAF 6 Rockstar animatronics. Ones that, again, we know were built by Henry as part of his plan to lure everyone back to his pizzeria trap. In short, the animatronic design seems to be giving us a timeline of...
Who the hell is this boy? I know that's supposed to be Funtime Fred, or, Withered Freddy, but, like, we have... Hold on. No, I need to dig for this. That is... Hold on. That is not the correct image of him. That is a fan render. I thought we were past this, Matpat. Yeah. Hold on. Here's the correct render. Let me see if there's an isolated sprite of it, because I understand, like, not wanting to retrace him or whatever, but, like, that bugs me that we're still having fan renders leak in every now and then. Like, that's totally justifiable in the early theories where there just weren't many good rips or images of these characters. And it was pretty hard to pull that off successfully. But the fact that it's there in a like the latest FNAF theory bugs me a little, to be honest.
Events. The mediocres and Wizards were built by Henry early in the timeline of the games. Eventually, Afton starts to influence the designs more and more until
I agree with that.
comes back to design the robots that were used for his pizzeria trap. But again, I ask, why does any of this matter? Isn't this just a minor detail?
Yeah, it's a cool continuity.
Where they don't really matter. No,
Wow, full Gmod SFM renders, huh? Okay. I mean, okay, for this shot, it makes sense. Because to get full body shots of them is kind of hard in the game, so I get it. But I would credit the artist on that one. Yeah.
Masks that match the coloring and rough shape of the mediocres. A pig, green frog, purple hippo, orange elephant, blue... okay, not all of them match. But here's the thing, I'm not the one pointing that detail out. This is actually coming from Scott Cawthon himself. In the Five Nights at Freddy's Ultimate Guide,
God damn it.
description for each mediocre melody calls this out as something worth noting. Quote, it's unconfirmed, but a child in the FNAF 3 Happiest Day minigame appears to be wearing a happy frog mask.
I mean, yeah, but also, are these written by Scott? That's always been bugged me, because clearly he has influence over them, but
Mr. Hippo Mask.
there are just some weird points brought up.
Mentions this specific detail. Seems like an odd fan theory to call so much attention to. And remember, Happiest Day is an exact recreation of the FNAF 4 pizzeria. We enter at the stage where Crying Child's bitten, we pass 3 tables, there's a bit of a gap, and then the final birthday table for the cake that's gonna set Crying Child's soul free. It seems to suggest that at some point the mediocre melodies existed in one version of the restaurant right alongside Freddy, Foxy, Bonnie, and Chica. But
God, those Gmod renders.
in the story The Puppet Carver, we read about the Pizza
God.
Playground, a restaurant that seems to predate or be a competitor to Freddy's. And in it, we see that the franchise uses very rudimentary animatronics that break down a lot. There's a pig with a banjo, an off-brand bear named Baron Von Bear, and an unknown bird animatronic. It's the mediocre melodies, guys. Pig Patch, Ned Bear, and hold on, there's no bird in the mediocre melodies. Unless, of course, we're talking about Chica. What this story seems to heavily suggest is that Chica started at a different pizza franchise and eventually crossed over.
Matt loves this theory, by the way, that Chica comes from somewhere else. This is like this... How many times has he tried to bring this up? Because he's done it a lot. I want to say this is like the 3rd time he's tried to bring up this idea that Chica's from somewhere else.
Popular enough to eventually join the Core 4. Also working at that pizza playground is a talented creator named Porter, someone who seems to have the ability to make wood.
Okay, here's my issue with the Fazbear Frights things. What if we're not meant to take the bird thing literally, and we're only supposed to take away from this idea that Porter is just an aspiring inventor who gets picked up by other people? What if that's all we're supposed to get out of this? Then this chunk is a lot looser.
In short, it's the book's stand-in for Henry.
Yeah, I agree with that.
He may be the most technologically advanced creator out there, but whatever he creates contains this certain X factor about it, a spark of life. It's how he's able to create endoskeletons out of nothing but wood. No power, no nothing, just wood and a childlike imagination. This, I think, starts to give us an important piece in the puzzle. Afton was the business guy, a tech bro who was smart and could build machines able to mimic voices and transform.
I agree with that. I do think that the game Afton is significantly smarter than novel or short story Afton. I feel like the short stories and novels kind of downplay William.
But it was Henry who had the pure love of his craft. That
I agree with that too.
just couldn't be replicated, and it drove Afton crazy. In the Silver Eyes novel, we read a bit about.
God damn it! Matpat, you have to prove this in the games! You can't just pull something out of the... Okay, I'm sorry. This has been an issue I've had with Matpat's theories forever. You can't just start saying something in the books before you prove it in the games. You can prove it in the games and say, hey, we see this again in the book, so it's a running idea.
Journals that they were, quote, full of raving paranoia. Passages about Henry that ranged from wild jealousy to near worship, which now gets us moving towards a motive. You see, one thing that I kept getting stuck
Because he's going to use this as William's motive here, and I don't... Because he's not going to give us... Shut up, Valorant.
Why does Afton kill? And out of everyone, why does he kill Henry's daughter, Charlie, specifically? She is one of, if not the first victim of the entire series. So why does Afton do it? Just because he's evil? Just because he's drunk from the bar at Junior's? No. I think Afton both loved and hated his business partner. He admired him and his magic, but also despised him for his 60.
I heavily disagree on this point. If you look at the timeline of events, William has no reason to kill Charlotte, really, if you're following this logic. Because in the games, there is no established jealousy logic. You have to prove it in the games, Matpat. You can't just say this shit. Because here's the thing. That logic doesn't apply to the short story counterpart. You have to prove that it happens in either I would say you have to follow a two continuity rule. If it happens twice, then it's more of a pattern than usual. You can't pull something from one continuity and then say it's true for all of them. I'm very firm on this logic.
To point us to Afton's motive for murder. It also finally helps give us a framework for the early parts of their story. Loyal theorists, let me now point us to the most obvious place that we should have been looking for lore this entire time: the history of the Chuck E. Cheese franchise. Because in a game all about animatronic pizza restaurants, why would we not look to see what creative inspiration Scott might have gotten from the real life?
Let me pull up a bit from my video.
Narratively.
Even the score. At this point, this location is... You know how there's always that part of the theory? You know what I'm talking about. You're looking at a Reddit post or somewhere else. I don't know where else people look at theories. Or you're watching a Matpat video. And then there's that portion. The part that confuses you. The part that makes you wonder, what are they on about?
Sorry, that's just never been wrong. This concept has just prevailed infinitely, and I can't believe we're still in this zone of theories.
Like franchise that started it all. I am so dumb. It took me researching an episode over on food theory to finally realize that I should have at least considered this at some point during the last 7 years of solving FNAF. Major head test moment. Anyway, I did exactly that, and what I learned was enlightening, to say the least. You see, what we now know of as Chuck E. Cheese actually started as the product of a feud between two rival animatronic pizza restaurants, Pizza Time Theater and Showbiz Pizza Place. Pizza Time was founded by a smart businessman who wanted to recreate Disneyland's Country Bear Jamboree. In the end, their onstage show wound up soulless and had no solid theme. Showbiz Pizza, meanwhile, had a creator who built better robotic attractions that were full of life. They also had a solid theme where everyone had southern accents and a lot of charm. I mean, just watch the clips and the difference is immediately clear.
Like, happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, you get it?
See, we're all up here on the stage, and we can all turn, go around a big circle together. See, like this, our feet aren't screwed to the floor or bolted down. We can move. We got more moves than a can of worms. And then that old one-tooth Billy Bob can come up there and stick his old ugly mug in your face.
To me, the battle between these two real-life pizza places, these two men, sounds a lot like the battle between William and Henry, a smart businessman who wanted to...
Okay, connect that to the games, please. You can't just say this. This is... Okay, I was worried my parody video was, like, too on the nose. It's not on the nose enough now, I realize. This video, the video I'm working on, includes a line that Funtime Foxy is phone guy. Because of how I thought that was the most absurd thing I could think of. I'm wrong. It could get worse. We have this line. I think the logic sound and all, like, I get where you're coming from. But you have to prove this in the games. Give us the stupid code room with the post-it notes equivalent to this.
A talented artist that was building animatronics with actual life and good southern accents.
I was just waiting for you to drop your
Except only 2 of them do.
guard.
Even small details of the real-life story map nicely onto the games, like the fact that these pizza places had small cabaret stages off to the side for extra acts to get added later.
I mean, but that's only the latest point in the timeline and FNAF 1. We don't really see this... I mean, we kind of see it in FNAF 2, but that's like a play area. That's like a toddler's room.
Foxy stands alone in Pirate Cove, a separate act that we see was the last one added to the core group of 4. In real life,
We don't know when Freddy and Friends is made.
Time Theater,
Freddy and Friends on tour, specifically.
Afton went heavily into debt and was forced to
You can't just say that! Please!
merge with Showbiz Pizza. That meant that, at least for a while, all the animatronics existed under one roof. But because the characters from Pizza Time were stronger for branding, specifically Chuck E. Cheese, that's the ones that they ultimately moved forward with. I suspect that something similar happened in the games. Williams
You can't say this, Matpat. You have to prove it in the games.
restaurant went heavily in debt. He gets saved by his rival Henry, and the two merge their restaurants together to create Fazbear Entertainment. Chica, a mediocre melody, officially joins Fredbear's cast of friends, and the rest are slowly phased out to obscurity. And William, angry and bitter, never truly lives down the humiliation of his failure.
Alright, let's say this is the logic. What the hell is the single Freddy in FNAF 2's Save Him minigame? What is he supposed to be then? Where are the mediocre melodies in any of our flashback cutscenes or logic or points? If this was the narrative that Scott wanted to tell, why don't we see them in Alchemist Fantasy, which is the FNAF 6 Charlotte's Death? Why is it not there? You have to prove...
Flash out
You show it!
drunken rage against Charlie.
They should be here, or like other animatronics should be here, or something. This minigame is so retconned and wrong that's beside the point. You should really be showing the FNAF 6 version of it. Because the gender's wrong, this is kind of weird in the first place. Why there's only one Freddy and there's not at least Spring Bonnie here is weird. But at the same time, it's like...
Behind the pizzeria. This feels right to me.
Does it?
Set up William as more than just an evil purpose.
You know what sounds right to me? A jealous drunk father wanting to kill his business partner's daughter because he lost his own son. How is that, like, less reasonable than this shit? I'm sorry, but what the hell are you on about?
Gives him a reason to want to kill.
He had motives! I've been spewing this nonsense since FNAF 6!
It also aligns with a lot of the interviews that Steel Wool Studios has been doing recently. J-Top, creative director at Steel Wool, recently acknowledged how important it is for your horror villain to be an actual, fully fleshed out, tragic character.
Try not to set out to make a cool looking villain. You know, go make a monster that have a reason for it. Look at like anthology horror. Here's somebody doing something really, really bad. Like they murdered someone. Something happens, often ironically, that then comes.
What was that word? Hold on.
Like they murdered someone. Something.
Hold on here. Matpat, you're completely insane. I'm going to say it. I love a good Matpat theory. This is not one. The overall concept, like this first third, I totally agree with, because we can totally see that in the design elements. That Henry has certain flares and polishes he really likes. My issues with those is those are even in the Fredbear designs, which should be some of the first designs for Freddy's. So I think there's something kind of wrong there. I think... Yeah, I do agree that Mediocre's melodies are probably Henry's first characters. But I don't think they're the first Freddy's characters, or that they were, like, bought out, per se. I think William just sees that and is like, hey, buddy pal, buddy friend, I'm rich or whatever. I don't know how William's able to do this. We can make them better. And that leads to Springlock suits, which are Fredbear and Spring Bonnie, and that leads to the franchise. But here's my point. Here's what I'm getting at. Here's why I'm pausing the video here. Ironically, something happens, often ironically. I'm saying that word kind of weird, but here, let me pull up. Let me go back to my video. What did I say was... yeah, my point was just that he... Okay, never. I'm not really... Where did I talk about it here? Yeah, here.
It also fits the FNAF game world a little bit more in general, but that line gets paid. This really hard day for William killed Charlotte that night. Jails up Henry, who kills a living daughter, and probably because Henry's the one who actually made Fredbear, as far as we know, he wants to even the score.
And this tracks with your logic, Matpat, by the way. Often, ironically, he loses his kid, he makes his business partner lose his daughter. That tracks with what they're saying here. You proved my point with something I didn't know about. And also, your theory actually settles down that Henry made Fredbear, because guess who has that same jaw design? Here, I want to prove this. I'm going to bring this up, because this is really bugging me. I am very passionate about this series, I'm starting to realize. I did not know it meant this much to me until I started screaming at a person who will never see this video. The employee sprite. Where's the other Fredbear sprite? I thought I had this one saved. Let me just look it up. I'm using Ed's just because I want to separate it from... Wait, no, that's not it. Where is he? Where's the boy? Okay, let me just... I'm using Edge just to keep it separated for my thing versus... Like, my personal stuff versus my YouTube stuff. FNAF 4 ending.
Sick of all the ads like this one? Just head to adskiller.com, click on activate.
Here we are. There it is. There's that proof you love, Matpat. There you go.
Happens often, ironically, that then comes back to bite them.
Did the...
A creature is created, a situation is created, and then they're judged and get their just desserts. Every big, horror icon, it essentially fits that structure in a way. Why is Freddy Krueger popular? Well, it's a revenge story, isn't it? Miss Voorhees, it's a revenge story. These aren't just like these supernatural forces that came out of nowhere to just hurt people, punish people. There were results of other wrongdoing.
William Afton, if I'm right,
Other wrongdoings! How the hell is this the conclusion you came to? I'm kind of playing this up a bit, but this is my actual frustration, just exaggerated slightly. No! No, it's not! Matt! Matt!
What happened to it? He wants Henry to be as miserable as he is. Oh, also at this point, since we're using a lot of
Oh yeah, also Matpat's using information from prior games, which he said weren't canon. Okay, so this entire video is talking about the person on the couch. There is only one thing I've seen wrong with this theory that, like, I genuinely have trouble counter-arguing. And this is the point I bring up a lot, which is I know it's why people jump on it so much in this video. I don't think this person on the couch is Michael for two reasons. Primarily, one of the big things to me is Michael's everything changes constantly, so there's no constants here that prove this has to be Michael. Like, people are like, the shirt's gray. Michael's shirt's also purple. People forget. Like, yeah, he is gray in FNAF 4, but he also gets the purple shirt in FNAF Social Location. So the shirt color's not consistent. His skin tone changes every sprite in FNAF 4. Technically every sprite in FNAF Social Location as well, but that's canon. That's because of skins running. And more importantly, like, the watching TV and gray text aren't exclusive enough to him, really, because white text and gray text are used a lot to fill out random stuff in FNAF 4 and other minigames and stuff. So that's not really specific or, like, unique enough to really qualify it. And the watching TV is, once again, just kind of a neglectful thing, or just like a absorbed in their craft kind of thing. But I bring this up because my point is it doesn't have to be Michael on the couch. And my main point of the series, what this entire video is about, at its core, was just that Michael's the kid running away, regardless of whoever's on the couch. Now, the biggest hole with that was, I suggested to his mom in this, like, Miss Afton that we don't know much about. And then the bonus video kind of expands upon that or goes into it a little bit more. But more importantly, in the bonus video, I pretended that it could be Henry kind of tricked into staying at William's house to watch Michael, so William can kill Charlotte unopposed without anyone catching him. Which is what I'm leaning on more now, because apparently there is one... Apparently that sprite is named Man Sitting. Now, granted, there are several sprites that are changed or their name was kind of errated over time. Yellow Bear, Sock Puppet are examples where, like, Scott clearly had an early name for them or an early filler name or plan for them that got changed later. Point being, it is a good point, though. Like, if you want to use information from the sprites, that's a valid argument, but I still stand by my Henry thing of Henry's kindness of being willing to stay behind and help watch Michael, which foreshadows the end of the game, which is the other reason, is being abused by William to kill Henry's daughter. But whatever, I don't agree with this theory post this point. You show it on screen! You show Henry's design, which contradicts your own point. We don't have a first restaurant for William now. If that's your logic, is that Henry always uses this jaw design, then you have to show William existing before that. You need to show a Fredbear that doesn't have this jaw design.
That'll eventually take Elizabeth and his crying child son away from him. The other thing that this mediocre melody timing issue may help explain is Cassidy's death. In the Fazbear Frights books, there's Andrew, who's basically the book stand-in for Cassidy. I know we're always...
Okay, this is another plot hole he's just created. Who the hell is the fifth kid, then? Who is the fifth MCI kid on this logic? Because they were all killed on the same day. FNAF 1's posters make that very clear. This is the same damn issue Cassidy victim has. It's like, what? This kid just evaporates from logic, then.
But Andrew here is an angry spirit that keeps William's soul tethered to a hellish purgatory so it can be punished again and again and again. He's also known to have had his body stuffed inside of Golden Freddy, so really the connections between the two aren't subtle. But Andrew has two unusual details about him. First, he wears an alligator mask. Second, and even more strangely, it's repeatedly made clear that his soul is attached not to an animatronic or an endoskeleton or anything like that, but to a battery pack, of all things. Now that is unusual. He's stuffed into Golden Freddy, but his soul is in a battery pack. Where in this franchise do we see animatronics using battery packs, let alone...
Okay, that's a cool point. That's a cool, like, bit of lore.
...branded animals using battery packs? Oh wait, it's the mediocre melody. Could they have been around during the missing children's...
God, you could cut out so much of this theory because it's all wrong. Like, there is no proof for this whole Showbiz Pizza rivalry connection. You have to show William running a restaurant on his own to make that comparison. And you don't do that, Matpat.
Generation 1 Freddy, Foxy, Bonnie, and Chica matching the designs of the mediocre melodies, it's certainly possible. We also see that the Golden Freddy suit has the same Henry style of design. In both the Fazbear Frights illustrations, as well as FNAF 4's minigames, we see that Golden Freddy has the separated jaw controlled by two straight bars, just like Lefty and just like Happy Frog.
At Walmart, save on thousands of gifts for everyone on your list. The savings are here all month long. Plus, get delivery on your gifts in as fast as 1 hour, right up to Christmas Eve. Shop Walmart online or in-store today.
Support Walmart, clearly. Hey, Taco Bell has cheese. Did you know that Taco Bell has cheese?
We come all the way back around to the point that I started this whole episode with. Cassidy speaks through them, of all characters. Not through Golden Freddy, not through Fredbear, through the mediocre melodies. The animatronics with a battery pack. Just thought it was...
Not... Yes, Cassidy does speak through them. But can I remind you the UCN ending cutscene? Has Matpat forgot this cutscene exists? Oh, the choice is mine. What is this cutscene about then, Matpat? And Tom, and all the editors who contributed to this. What was this one about? JoJo Part 9 release date? I've never read any of it. What is What is that about then? By this theory, why is that there?
Series of connections. So anyway, those were some stray observations that I've been kicking around about the mediocres. What do you think? Do they have greater lore importance to the story than we initially thought, or are they just meant to be a joke? Am I just falling victim to everything that Mr. Hippo warned me against? Let me know.
Yes, I think so, actually. As much as I like that connection, there needs to be another thing that proves it to me. There needs to be, like, a line from Henry, or, like, a note, or, like, a design detail, like, just like the... Like, for example, if Ned Bear had blueprints that said, like, just like... or if, like, let's say Rockstar Freddy had a blueprint that said, just like the 80s Ned Bear, or something like that. That would prove it to me.
Chance for them to affect the final FNAF timeline for 2022.
Comments? I'm recording a whole video, Matpat.
Interpretation of all the events in
What's
the
this?
series
Oh,
up to
Into
now.
Black.
That episode will be coming in the next week or two. I swear, I am not putting it off anymore. We are gonna plow through this thing to the very end. We have gotta finish it. Gotta finish it, man. Gotta finish it. You're so close. Just do it. So make sure you subscribe to know when that one is uploaded.
I'm gonna consider this video debunked already. I like this first bit, because I think that is a cool little parallel. I think it's missing one or two cementing details. Because we are yet to but this middle bit, this is terrible. I'm gonna be completely honest. This is god awful, because there's no proof for it. All that Matpat's evidence here is that there was yes, FNAF is inspired by Chuck E. Cheese, as in it's inspired by animatronics. You need to prove that William had his own restaurant that was failing, and that he gets Henry to join him to fix things. You need to prove that. You can't say that as so casually. And also, I stand by this. Like, this clip that you played makes me think the exact opposite way you wanted.
And in the meantime, remember, stay hydrated. I appreciate that today's theory might be a lot to swallow. Fortunately, you can wash it down with help from today's sponsor, Air Up. In the FNAF world, smell is usually a bad thing. It's the kind of thing that you can get fired for.
It is.
Air Up is using smell for good. The science just want my drinks
Is there
to taste
any...
like something, not just water stuff. Hence,
Okay. Do I edit this? Or do I just upload this raw because... Watch the St. Jude's. I'm probably going to watch that, like, later, or, like, tap into that. I might just upload this video raw. Because I very much disagree with this video for, like, a lot of this points. I also think... I think the battery pack thing is a weird connection. But also, I want to double-check the context of that, because I don't quite agree. I want to re-look at how the battery pack is mentioned, first and foremost. Watch this video if you want a lot of my counterpoints to the whole timeline thing or what he's talking about, but anyway, that's this video.